Gordon is especially proud to have worked on the railway for a long time, longer than most of the other engines, and because of his many years of experience, he often likes to think he knows best. One spring day, Gordon was in the yard being readied for the morning run. The fireman was just finishing oiling Gordon's rods when the porter strolled up, clutching a piece of paper. "The new timetable's just arrived from the printers. Station master said to be sure you got one." "Oh, thanks," the driver smiled, and then he and the fireman started to look it over. "Well," said the fireman at last, "the only change I can spot is that Gordon must arrive 10 minutes earlier than usual. Surely that's a mistake." The driver agreed, but Gordon did not. "Ours is not to reason why. If the timetable says I must arrive earlier, then I will. That's the correct way to run a railway." There was no time for any more talk, as Gordon had to set off to collect his train. Soon Gordon was rocketing along with the express. He was trying his hardest to go even faster than usual, which didn't go down well with the coaches. "Why the rush? Why the rush?" they panted. Gordon ignored them. "I must arrive early today, I must!" But he said this to himself. The train reached the junction in excellent time. And of course, because they were so early, there was no sign of Thomas. Gordon stood there, hissing steam, growing ever more restless, and eyeing the station clock impatiently. "Well, best be off now," he rumbled. "I have to be 10 minutes early, after all." "That's a mistake," cried his driver and fireman. "No, it isn't. We have to leave now," argued Gordon. "I'm expected earlier because I don't have to wait for little Thomas anymore. A long overdue change, if you ask me. I'm sure he must have received his new timetable as well." The driver, fireman and guard all attempted to reason with him, but the big engine was insistent. Everyone ended up red in the face and cross, but ultimately convinced that Gordon must be right. "I knew you'd come round to my way of thinking," Gordon grinned as he steamed away. No sooner was he out of sight than Thomas appeared, puffing down the branch line. Passengers got out of Annie and Clarabel, expecting to join Gordon's train, but they couldn't. Unfortunately, one of those passengers just happened to be the Fat Controller. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. Oh dear, I'm afraid Gordon has already gone, sir," the station master stammered, and he went on to explain about the new timetable. "That was obviously a mistake," snapped the Fat Controller. "Printing error most likely." The passengers began to crowd round. They were saying it was a bad railway, and he didn't like that one bit. "Excuse me, sir," called Thomas. "My next train was to be trucks, but they can wait until I've taken everyone to the big station." "Well done, Thomas. That's the most sensible thing I've heard all morning." When he found Gordon at the coal hopper later, the Fat Controller spoke crossly to him. Now, although Gordon was sorry deep down, he just couldn't admit he'd been wrong. "What a silly engine you are," boomed the Fat Controller. "Of course timetables are important, but they don't supersede common sense. Passengers come first on my railway." As punishment, Gordon was left on a siding at the big station. "You will stay there for as long as is necessary," the Fat Controller said bluntly, and left. Gordon, who still felt sure he was in the right, yawned and dozed off. But not for long. James arrived to collect some coaches, and woke him with a shrill whistle. "What are you doing there, Gordon? I saw Henry pulling your express earlier." Well," he faltered, "it so happens I've been positioned here as an example to all of you smaller engines, so that you can see what a really fine engine looks like." James clearly didn't believe a word of this, and puffed off laughing loudly. Gordon fumed silently, but eventually drifted off to sleep once more. He next awoke to the sound of Boko rumbling past with a milk train. Dawn was already breaking. "Oh, I must have been here all night," Gordon gasped. "The Fat Controller really meant what he said." Gradually, the big station grew busy once more, as commuters arrived to catch trains to work, and tank engines scampered past, looking for trucks to shunt. Then Henry passed by on his way back from pulling the flying kipper. "You've been on that siding for a while now," he called. "Come down with boiler ache, have you?" "Oh, goodness me, no. Never felt better. I've just been asked to stay here and keep an eye on all you other engines. You know, just to make sure you're all running on time, that sort of thing." Henry snorted. "If you say so, Gordon. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must get back to my nice warm shed." Instead of being cross, Gordon just sighed and shivered. The weather was colder today, and his fire hadn't been lit. He had much to think about, and plenty of time to do it. When he took the express out, Henry decided to discuss the situation with Edward. "Whatever Gordon's done, he's too proud to admit it. All I know is I hope he's back in service soon. Pulling the express makes a nice change, but it's exhausting every day." "I'll see what I can do," smiled Edward. "This really needs sorting out." Some time later, Edward stopped by the siding. "You do look glum, Gordon. What's wrong?" he asked. Gordon hesitated, trying to think of another excuse. "Come on now, you can tell me." The big engine sighed and sadly explained the whole story. "And so, you see, I didn't wait for Thomas's train, and the passengers missed their guaranteed connection. I was only trying to do the right thing, but in this case, it seems I was wrong." "You certainly were," said a stern voice. The fat controller stepped down from Edward's cab. "However, I can see you are sorry now, Gordon, so we'll say no more about it. Edward, take Gordon to the water tower. He's just in time to pull the afternoon express." Gordon smiled happily. As the two engines headed for the yard, Gordon thanked Edward. "What a relief," he said. "It feels as though a great weight has been lifted from my tender. Sometimes even experienced engines like myself forget about what matters most. In future, I'll try to remember that passengers are more important than timetables." "Good for you, Gordon," said Edward. "Good for you."